Showtime. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Ready.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show, starring Bob Lutz.
I have no clue who
It is
I
a little
am,
different, but when
who you are.
when
You,
Duda and I do
you
it-
even look different.
That can only mean one thing.
Jeff Lutz.
Nope. There's Elvis for you. Oh, I'm going to pass out. That was so funny.
You are not cool.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's a Tuesday edition of the Bob and Jeff Show, KFH Radio. Bob Lutz, Jeff Lutz, co-hosting. Max Power produces and engineers the show. We got a big one for you today. We'll talk more about it in a minute, but let's welcome Jeff in.
Got a big
Jeff,
one.
how are you?
I want to hear about this big one.
Got a good show. I'm
Oh,
busy
that's
over
good.
here booking guests. I'm having a heck of a week.
Is it big or is it good? Because those are that's a pretty big dichotomy over there. That is between those two words, and you need to relax. So
What do you mean I need to relax?
I don't like your facial expressions. So
I mean, I can only take so much. It's a good show, and I'll tell you about it right now. Rustin Dodd from The Athletic will be our guest at 2:25. We'll talk Major League Baseball as we near the trade deadline. Rustin has been around these parts, formerly with the Kansas City Star, and really good. Denise Neil at 2:45, we'll talk food and restaurants with Denise, and then in the second hour, Jeff will have a game. Tomorrow on the show, Jim Callis from MLB Pipeline will come on to talk about the draft, the recent draft, and prospects. And I got a feeling that we're going to be talking a whole lot about the Royals for the next couple of months.
could be.
Because they are really clicking right now. They have the player who might be you got a lot of good players. You've got Soto, you've got Ohtani, but I don't know if there's anybody better right now than Bobby Wood Jr., who's just ripping the cover off the baseball. They got down to Arizona last night and then just completely swamped them and won that game. They're playing very well. And I know you don't like this conversation because your team lost again last night.
Sure did.
To the Detroit Tigers at home. Tarek Skubal, when he pitches, you're going to lose some games. Now you got to go win the next three.
I think it's only a 3-game series, but you might be right.
I think it's a 4-game series. And the Guardians have to get going here because both the Twins and Royals are coming.
I guess. They were 4 back, and it's not that they're coming. It's we're backing up to them. We were 26 games over 500.
The Royals are coming.
No, they're not.
They've won 7 of 9.
Okay, well, if the Guardians were still played 500 since they were 51 and 26, they'd be 6.5 up. I don't think anybody's coming. They're just the Guardians aren't
Sure
playing.
they
well.
are.
No, they're not.
They're coming for you.
I think no, they're not. The Guardians are playing terribly.
Well, part of it is that the Guardians are letting them come, but the Royals have taken advantage of the
if you've
Guardians.
gone 8 and 14 and you're still 4 up in the division, that's you backing up.
What's your biggest lead?
9, I think.
Oh boy, they're coming.
No, we're losing.
That's got to make you nervous, doesn't it?
I'm not nervous. There's nothing
Got to
to
make
be
you apprehensive.
There's nothing to be nervous
Got
about.
to make you angry.
Nothing to be nervous about.
What about angry?
I don't like being gaslighted, so no.
Why can't you just admit your feelings? I mean, I'm upset that the Cardinals lost last night.
Why do I need to be angry?
Now they got to face Paul Skeens because you are angry. You're angry.
You're telling me I'm angry. What is that supposed to do for anybody?
I don't know what it does.
That's
but
just irritating.
I just know you're angry.
What do I have to be angry about?
Because your team's not playing well.
The Royals are playing well. There's no question. But Minnesota, they haven't been playing that well.
They beat the Phillies last night. That's a win that,
Phillies haven't been playing that well.
No, they've been struggling a little bit. But the Tigers have been playing well. I mean, they're only a game under. That kind of caught me by surprise. They've been playing very well. Still got 3 to go with them in this series.
Sure.
Yeah. I am sure.
I thought I looked and it was 3 games.
I am sure.
I think you're right because we have 3 against the.
I know more about your team than you do. You got problems.
No, I don't have any problems.
I wish you'd just understand that I follow this stuff. And because I know you like the Guardians, I keep track of the Guardians. And I'm not pleased when they lose. But I'm going to tell you right now, Bobby Witt at the, what is he, 23?
Something like that.
This is incredible.
He's a really good player.
He had a double, triple, and homer by the 4th inning last night.
Yeah, he's got 3 hits in 4 straight games, I believe.
Then they hit him, and that caused a little ruckus.
Yeah,
and
he
then the
shouldn't
Royals
do that.
hit somebody. That caused even more of a ruckus.
Gabriel Moreno.
So we'll be interested to see how Game 2 of that series goes tonight.
Well, the Royals will probably pound him again. The Royals have heart right now. They're playing with some emotion and fire and enthusiasm. And I don't know, does that come because you're winning, or does winning come because you're playing?
I think they realize they've got a good team. They got really good starting pitching. They've bolstered their bullpen. Moves like that, getting Hunter Harvey from Washington, they don't really register with the baseball public, but that addressed a real need for Kansas City.
Yeah, well,
he's
an
a
upgrade.
quality late-inning relief pitcher. So who knows what they'll do? Look what they did in the offseason. I mean, you gotta give it to the Royals for making a bunch of moves, most of which have panned out better than they could have even imagined. Nobody thought Seth Lugo was going to be this.
From the pitching standpoint, their moves really worked out.
Michael Wacha
Hunter
has been
Renfro's
really
been
good.
okay. Adam Frazier, I don't really know.
No, they bolstered their team.
But from a pitching standpoint, yes, they are much, much better.
Dozier and Frazier have given them offensive depth. They're not great offensive players, but you need Renfro. You need depth. You need guys that they're not a complete team by any stretch, but they are.
Nobody is.
They won 56 games last year. They won their 56th game last night.
Understood. What are they, 56 and 44?
Something like that.
No, because they're 4 out. I don't know. 56 and 50.
Well, you're angry, and that's okay. I like guys who wear their emotions on their sleeves.
Well, I turned the game off after.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
Henry Malloy with the 2-run homer, because that was the ball game.
Well, that's why I appreciate it.
Guardians got 12 hits and 2 runs.
Well, I feel bad for you. I've been there.
Well, we'll see if they can.
There's nothing more
break out of
uncomfortable
it.
than watching your team, which has been in first place all year, start to leak oil.
Yeah.
And you're wondering to yourself, can they hold on?
Probably not.
Well, now I don't like that attitude.
Well, why could they? They're playing bad against teams that aren't really that good. The Padres, they lost 2 out of 3.
Padres are dangerous.
They're okay, but they're still a 500 team. Detroit's a 500 team. These are teams you should be beating at least at home. Before the break, their
offense is slowed down a little bit, and their starting pitching
is horrific.
Is not very good, and they were hitting for the first 3 months of the season, and
now they're not.
You don't know about their offense.
Fans are going crazy and thinking this move's happening, or what does this symbolic thing mean, and no one knows what's going on.
And meanwhile, the Royals, I would be shocked if they don't add a quality bat to their lineup. Somebody that can really help them. Tommy Pham would be, I know you don't want anything to do with him, but that's the kind of guy who would flourish in Kansas City.
Maybe. I mean,
know what? I know
I think he just is what he is.
But you know it, and I know.
He's a 700 OPS guy.
Well, but when you bring him in for a playoff run, he's better than that.
He just is what he is to me.
Now, look what he did last year.
What did he do last
with
year?
Arizona? He came in and really helped that team.
I still think he just kind of is.
He's playing with the White Sox. No, he doesn't care right now. He's just trying to get. He's waiting for next week.
With Arizona last year, he had a 720 OPS.
Look what he did in the
724 in
postseason.
2021, 724 this year.
Look what he did in the
This
postseason.
is what he is.
He's a good player. He's certainly an upgrade over what the Royals have currently.
Yeah, he hit 347 or 125 in one series, then he hit 429, then he hit 100 in the next series, and then he hit 421. So Tommy Pham, I'm not saying he's not serviceable and perhaps useful, but he is what he is.
And he brings an edge.
Yeah, he brings that's not the kind of edge I want.
I like that edge. I liked it when he had that edge for the Cardinals. They don't have anybody with an edge now. I like edges.
Well, Cardinals don't like edges, and that's why they get rid of the guys that have edges.
No, they don't always get rid of them.
Play with
They don't.
that
They
kind
don't.
of fire.
Lance Lynn has an edge. He's just at the tail end of a career. But he has an edge.
a little bit.
So, they got guys. But Tommy Pham plays with an edge. And I predict he'll be a Royal in a week.
Okay,
How do you like that?
that's fine. I'm still not worried about the Royals. More so probably the Twins, but if the Guardians don't start playing better, it's not going to matter anyway. So
I feel your pain right there.
why?
I don't know. I feel like you're bearing your soul a little bit.
Not really.
A little bit, you are.
How so?
You sounded a little sad. Almost
Why are you
resigned.
putting these emotions in my head? That
Because that's how they're striking me.
I don't understand that.
See, there was a little tone there.
Well, yeah, it's kind of irritating because I keep being told that I feel a certain way.
Well,
That I don't know that I feel.
I can sense it.
I'm about ready to knock you out.
Really?
Yeah.
So now there's anger boiling to the
It's-
surface.
Isn't that how it works?
Well, I hope you don't knock me out. That would be a terrible look.
Well, I hope I don't too.
Well, that would be awful. You would lose all your fans.
Do I have any?
I don't know. I presume you do.
I wouldn't think so. But I guess you never know. By the way, I hope what I think may have happened didn't happen. I got a message from Jamie Green last night. Now they want to interview me for the documentary. You didn't go and hey, you want to I don't
No, I did not do that.
I hope
I
nothing.
sent her the screenshot of your text, and that's all I did.
I hope nothing that we were talking about on the radio got back
I'm
to
not
her
so
and-
sure my wife didn't say you should maybe think about interviewing Jeff when they talked to her. She may have said
Well, that's
that.
fine.
But I didn't. I just saw Jamie today. They poured the concrete base for the statue that's going to be installed coming up on August 5th. I got an email from the foundry in Colorado showing me a photo of the statue. It's going to be transported to Wichita late next week. It's making me emotional, and it's going to be incredible. It's going to be absolutely incredible when we unveil that, for several reasons.
What's
but I
kind
want
of
to
the-
mention one of them.
Okay.
My friendship with the artist, John Parsons,
Right.
which came about when I was in grade school. That's how long I knew him. He passed away 2 summers ago. I spent a ton of time with that man. When we were kids, when we were adults, when we were growing up, when we were going through life, and to see what he became and his tremendous talent, and being able to work on that statue with him, not my artistic ability, but helping facilitate it,
Right.
was an honor. And I'll always remember how he approached the first unveiling back in 2021. He kind of just stood to the back, wouldn't come up and say anything. That's John for you. Mild in that way. No ego to speak of. And how proud he was of that moment. And this statue, of all the work he's done in bronze sculpture, was his favorite for a lot of reasons. One, it was a likeness. He had never done a human likeness before. 2, it was Jackie Robinson. 3, it was done for the organization I lead. And all of those factors made it special to both of us. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this sculpture back. And I'm so thankful that the mold was saved so that we could do the same sculpture from John. It would feel so strange to have any other sculpture going up.
Right. It wouldn't be right.
The point of it wouldn't feel right. It would, I don't know, we would have probably done it, but it would have felt completely...
Yeah, and it would have been a long, drawn-out process. This is the way to do it.
Well, but only because the mold was salvaged.
Right.
Now, I'm told there's a company in Oregon or Washington that can do digitally make these molds viable for decades. Right now, it's only a matter of years before they're no longer viable. So we're going to look into that so that if something happens to this one, which of course we hope is not the case, we would have that option. That's a lot of details about the statue.
Good way to keep his memory and legacy alive.
Can't wait. I honestly, that August 5th, that day, will be surreal in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I know a lot of it will. I know he will be properly honored. Jackie will be properly honored. The people who made it all possible will be properly honored, and the luminaries will be out.
There you go. Will you be out?
Of course.
Of course you will. You better
August 5th.
Better think about parking. I got to get with the city and see if they'll run a shuttle from the parking lot at the south end of McAdams to the north end, because we're expecting a lot of people. And we only have a limited number of parking spots. So we're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to be there.
We'll see. I think so. But I've been wrong before. Believe it or not.
About this one.
What?
I don't think you're wrong about this one.
You got anything
you're
else
wrong
to
about
say
me
about
being angry, but
well, you're a mixture of things right now. I've been there. I've been a baseball fan my whole life.
I'm more hopeful.
I hope so.
If we get to next week and they kind of just got a fringe reliever and maybe some other guy that's not really going to help, and they've lost 2 or 3 to the Phillies or got swept, and then no, I won't be as hopeful. But for now, I'm still hopeful.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how tonight goes against the Tigers.
We'll lose.
Well, then how? That's not
Xavier Curry's pitching. He's like a 7 ERA in AAA.
That's not hopefulness.
I'm hopeful that we won't have to see Xavier Curry pitch again after this.
Well, I don't know what kind of pitcher you want to get. Eric Fetty.
That'd be nice.
Well, we'll see.
Eric Fetty and Paul Blackburn, throw them into the rotation. And
you'd have to give up a lot to get those guys.
Paul Blackburn's okay. Fetty's better.
Blackburn has a pretty good history.
Yeah, I like him.
We'll see.
I'd love to have him.
Cardinals got to get pitching. Everybody's got it. That's why it's so tough.
It is.
There's a ton of teams that need help and only a few teams that have help.
Right. And if you're a contender, you just hope, like the Cubs yesterday announced, we're kind of sellers. Maybe the Reds will fall into that category, or some other teams over the next week will decide that.
And we'll continue this conversation. We'll take a break right now. Rustin Dodd from The Athletic, one of their lead baseball writers. Longtime journalist, used to work at the Kansas City Star. I knew him best when he covered the University of Kansas for a while. Rustin Dodd will join us next. This is Bob and Jeff on KFH.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show.
Rustin Dodd joins us from The Athletic. Rustin, hello, welcome. First time you've been on here in a while. How you doing?
It has been a while, Bob. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. I always admired your work greatly when you were at the Kansas City Star. I still do so today. You've kind of become a baseball guy, and I'm a baseball guy, so is my son Jeff. So let's start there with the Royals, a team you're pretty familiar with from your days in Kansas City. I made the comment at the opening of the show, these next 2 months, I'm not so sure what the Royals are going to accomplish, but the ceiling's pretty high in my estimation. Do you agree?
You know, I do. They've got a pretty soft schedule here over the next couple of weeks where they're going to get to play the Cubs after the Diamondbacks, and then they get the White Sox and the Tigers again. And, I think it's an opportunity for them to kind of make a little push here, and then maybe add some, pieces at the deadline. I think their schedule, if you look a little closer, it does get a little tougher in August and into early September. But I think they're positioned to be in the wild card race the whole year. Will they get there? We'll see. But I think they're in the especially with the third wild card, I think they'll be in the race well into September.
Who are some realistic targets for the Royals? Their farm system isn't incredibly deep. Obviously, they have a lot of young players on the major league roster, some injured. It seems like the bat is the way to go now that they've addressed the bullpen a little bit, and their starting pitching is already good. So who should Royals fans maybe be zeroing in on over the next week as potential guys for the Royals?
It's a great question. I think, I would look at it, so the first name that comes to mind, and I don't know that he is, the kind of guy that they will acquire, but somebody like Tommy Pham from the Chicago White Sox. And there's a couple of reasons why, he fits, right? So he's 35 years old, and he'll be a free agent after this year. He's with the White Sox right now. He's going to be dealt. And the price for somebody like him will be cheap. So I think it's somebody, look for guys sort of in that mold, pending free agents, maybe a little bit older so that, the price is a little bit lower, guys that teams are more or less kind of giving away. I think the Royals want to add, and I don't actually think, it's kind of interesting because they don't have one of the best farm systems in baseball. And on the one hand, you might say, well, you shouldn't really be trading, you shouldn't be depleting that farm system even more. But you could kind of look at it the other way and say, okay, got a lot of kind of mediocre prospects, and if you move some of those guys for veteran bats that can help you over the next 2 or 3 months, you might be okay in the long run. So I think they're probably kind of thinking about it from that perspective. Taylor Ward with the Angels, another guy, but really just any sort of kind of rental outfielder that can add a little bit, professional plate appearances, that kind of thing is, I think, who they'll be targeting.
Talking with Rustin Dodd, baseball writer from The Athletic. We're going to stick to the Royals for one more question, but then I want to get a little deeper with you. Bobby Witt Jr. has just been on fire since the All-Star break. Only a few games, but my goodness, he's just tearing the cover off the ball. He's 24 years old. He's signed long-term with the Royals. I feel like this ownership group understands that this is a time over the next 10 years where they have to take advantage of having this kind of player on their team. Will the Royals rise to the challenge of staying competitive over a decade, or will they fall back as they so often have in the past?
It's a great question, Bob. I think they're well positioned to have a nice little window here over the next 4 to 5 years. And I think with ownership, I think there is, John Sherman, he's shown that he wants to win. He's willing to spend, what they did last offseason, both with Bobby Witt Jr., but also in free agency. I think he's a baseball fan. He's lived in Kansas City, for over 30 years. He was a season ticket holder before he became the owner. I think winning and competing and that stuff means something to him. And so I think they are going to spend. The big question, or at least relatively speaking, I guess they're going to, they're not going to spend like a big market team, but they're going to spend, good for the Royals. I guess the big question is, can they start, drafting and developing players at a better rate? I mean, the spending is one thing, but the reason the Royals have struggled for the last 5 or 6 years is, just look at their track record in the draft and the way they've developed pitching over the last decade. And so they have a new, front office in place with J.J. Piccolo replacing Dayton Moore. And I think the early returns on the pitching side, they hired Brian Sweeney from the Cleveland Guardians. And those things look really positive. They're really trending upward in the way they've been able to make their pitchers better and develop some young guys over the last year or two. But in the long term, they're going to have to keep doing that. And so that's the big question for me. I think there is commitment from ownership, and I think they have, a nice little core of young players. They obviously need more, and they need to build their farm system back up. But it really is just going to come down to, as it always does, just drafting and developing. And if they can do that at a little bit better rate over the next 5 years.
So, Rustin, I'm a Guardians fan, and I mention that only because I look at a team like the Orioles and just the fact that they can acquire anybody they want, and teams like Cleveland will be maybe picking over the leftovers a little bit. So what do you think the move is for Baltimore? Is it consolidating 2 or 3 of their major prospects and making the big splash, or is it maybe including one of those guys each in 2 or 3 trades and just making upgrades that way?
It's a really good question. I mean, the Orioles have done, they have drafted and developed better than any team in baseball probably over the last 5 years, and that their farm system is loaded, and a lot of those guys are in the major leagues already, but some of them are still down in the minors. And it really comes down to, Mike Elias is their GM, and I think he's the kind of guy who thinks like long term, more in the mold of a Cleveland or a Tampa Bay, and like, how do we be sustainable? Let's really value we value these prospects at a certain way. These teams have models and systems, and they can see like the long term value of a young player over 6 years. And I think it really comes down to how much do you kind of just value a championship and going for it. And it's been a long time since the Baltimore Orioles have won the World Series. And, they traded for Corbin Burnes in the offseason, which was kind of, the first time that they had really spent some of that prospect capital to go out and get a player. And now do they look around and say, okay, we actually really probably are the best team in the American League. And, we're right there with, 2 or 3 best teams in baseball. And now is the time, we're a smaller market. Let's go ahead and go, trade for a guy like Garrett Crochet from the White Sox, or, one of the best, starters on the market. And I don't feel like I have a good enough feel for Mike Elias to know what they're going to do. But I tend to think that they'll be more on the cautious side, but it'll be interesting to see if they, like the Royals in 2015, and just say, let's screw it. let's try to win the World Series and kind of, give us the best chances here.
Rustin Dodd with us from The Athletic. We're talking baseball. So the National League, and especially the wild card picture, it's not very clear. I count 8 teams that are within either 4 games over 500 or 6 games under 500. How's that going to shake out at the at the trade deadline? Which teams do you expect to be the most active? Were you surprised that the Cubs are kind of waving the white towel in spite of being one of those teams that's still only 4 games under?
Yeah, well, this is a really interesting question, actually, because it makes me think of that. It makes me think about how much if you're a Royals fan, you love the third wild card, right? You're like, okay, we can maybe make the playoffs, but I kind of hate the third wild card. I think it's ruined kind of the format in the playoffs. The opening with those 3-game series, the 3-game wild card series, it feels like it kind of slows down the momentum, and then it makes the playoffs longer. And also, you have very mediocre teams getting into the postseason, and you would think, like a lot of agents have made this point, but other people have made this point too. It actually causes teams to be a little bit less aggressive because they say, well, okay, we could get into the playoffs, but then we're in a 3-game series. That's a coin flip. But we may be able to sneak into the playoff anyways without, going out and really adding to our roster. So let's just hold on to our prospects. And I guess that's a long way of saying I think that big thing of, mediocrity will cause a lot of teams to maybe feel that way and think, all right, well, maybe we can kind of luck our way into the postseason here, but there's no use, trading a prospect to add our chances to make the playoffs by 10% when then once we get into the playoffs, we got about a 2% chance to, win a World Series or anything like that. So I think it's you look up and down the National League, there really should be one wild card team, honestly. But right now there's going to be 3, and it could be a number of different teams, and who knows? I mean, the Diamondbacks got into the playoffs last year and were able to get to the World Series, and I think you're going to continue seeing that in baseball, where you're seeing kind of mediocre teams, have a chance.
Do you expect teams to kind of take as long as possible to really gain clarity on their status, and we'll see a flood of activity on the 29th and 30th, or will maybe there be a smattering of deals over the course of the next week?
I think it always tends to go down to the last minute. I think teams feel like, and I don't know if this is true, but I just think it's the way GMs think, that the longer they hold on to a player, the more likely that there's a bidding war at the last minute between teams, and maybe holding on for a player for another week, the value's not going to go down, and in fact, the value for that player might go up. So I think we'll see some, maybe a deal here or there this week, but I think you'll see, the biggest things happen, heading into the weekend and beyond.
Rustin, really good stuff. Really appreciate you coming on the show. It'll be a busy week for you and everyone who covers Major League Baseball. Thanks for being with us.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, Rustin Dodd from The Athletic. Good stuff. Baseball, of course, intrigues us, and that's a guy who knows it.
Sure thing.
What'll the Cardinals do?
I don't know. You didn't ask.
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because I already know.
You do?
They'll go get some bum reliever.
Oh, that's too bad.
Or Eric Fetty.
Go get Eric Fetty. I'm sure he'd love to pitch.
Well, they
in
might
St.
get
Louis.
Eric Fetty.
They might.
They need something.
You have the people that you want, and Fetty seems realistic for a lot of teams.
They have some good players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it?
Mason Wynn's good. Alec Burleson's good. Wilson Contreras is good.
Is he just DH now?
Brendan Donovan's good. And then after that,
Sonny Gray's usually pretty good.
he's struggled.
Yeah, a little.
We'll see. I'm not going to get too worked up over it right now.
Yeah, you are. You're angry.
No, I'm not angry.
You're sad and you're angry.
I'm never angry.
Never?
Nope.
Wow.
I don't get angry. Denise Neil joins us from the Wichita Eagle. She's been known to howl at the moon. Hello, Denise.
Hey, you remember when we wrote that song, Spooky Moon?
Oh, my God. I do remember that. That was...
I sing it every time I
that was
pass the Waffle
phenomenal.
House. I know. It was a really
thanks
good
for
time.
reminding me of that.
Well, you're welcome.
That
I'll
was on
sing
a
it to you
trip
next
home
time I
from
see you.
Oklahoma, right?
Oklahoma City. Me, and Jill Chittum were there covering the NCAA tournament. We went to the Waffle House and we wrote a song about the spooky moon. That was a long
That's
dang
good
time
stuff.
ago.
Denise,
Yep.
I'm going to start with a little bit of a controversial question because you wrote a story about a man who had consumed 20,000 beers.
Right.
Is that worth celebrating?
Well, now listen, I think those people who are taking it too seriously need to calm themselves on down. This man was completely delightful, and he's a beer fan. He's a guy, he's got a PhD. He was a Boeing executive at one point. He enjoys stopping at the watering hole on his way home from work, checking his email, unwinding, and trying a new craft beer. And he's been doing it since he moved here, probably before you were born, and has just accumulated those beverages over the years. I mean, you know, I didn't set out to celebrate it, by the way. Old Chicago was very excited about it because he's obviously one of their best customers. He's delightful. He's a delightful guy.
20,000 beers. You know, that sounds like, oh, my God, that's just crazy. But I wonder how many beers I've consumed.
That's like one a day for 50 years or something.
Well, I used to do 10 a day.
Well, it's 10 a day for 5 years. I don't know what he's doing.
Well, I don't know what he's doing. What about what I did?
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing.
Anyway.
10 a day is too many.
Well, 10 a day is too many, but it wasn't every day.
Well, that's not 10 a day. That's 10 in a day.
Listen, whatever floats your boat. If you want to have a beer a day, go for it. Right, Denise?
Yes, and this sweet man was somewhat reluctant to be in the spotlight over this accomplishment. But, you know, Old Chicago convinced him, and I just can't stress to you how delightful he was.
All right. Well, like I said, a little bit controversial, but that's what I do.
Yeah, Jeff is on the cutting edge.
Oh, I know. Jeff,
I know.
Jeff asks the tough questions that no one else will ask.
Yeah,
I try to.
There's some truth to
I
that.
know.
Let's talk about Po' Boy Pizza, because it's been around a long time, and it has a very strong following. But it's the owner's retiring. They're closing.
Yeah,
What's going to happen?
Yep. Well, the owner, her husband died 5 years ago, and she's been running it by herself ever since. But they had been running it together since 1990, which is a long time ago. And it's the home of a pizza roll, which is not really like Old Chicago's pizza rolls, but kind of a pizza filling folded up in crust, and people love it, especially people who went to Southeast High School, because before Southeast moved years ago, they were right next door to this place. So everybody from the high school would go there to eat. But anyway, she's ready to retire. Her sons, who are engineers and grown up, they really want to continue it, but they can't right now. And so they're holding on to hope that they can reopen it here in 2 or 3 years somewhere else, not there at Lincoln and Edgemore where it is now. But so there's hope for people who love it and are sad it's closing, that it could come back in some form in the future. But August 6th will be its last day. And until then, she's taking carryout orders only because she's kind of running the place by herself and can't really handle more than that.
So you wrote a story about two chefs who are going to lead or be part of leadership at culinary schools, one at Butler Community College and one at WSU Tech. So how much intel do you have on those two culinary schools? How much time have you spent, if much, in them, and what kind of operations are they?
Well, I mean, for a town our size, it's kind of amazing to have two places like that, and both of them have brand new state-of-the-art buildings. The Butler one has been running for longer. It's out at Andover. It's out in Andover, like right in front of the Dillons there at Andover Road and Kellogg. I think that's the name of it. But it has a brand new building that was paid for mostly by Scott Redler, of Freddy's Frozen Custard founder. And theirs is called the Redler Institute. And it's really good. I mean, it puts out a lot of good cooks and good chefs every year. And then WSU Tech started its own in downtown Wichita, right there at Broadway and William. And it's state-of-the-art. It has brand new building. It has students and chef teachers and a restaurant on the ground floor that students can practice in, an event center on the top floor. So, I mean, it's a pretty unusual thing for a city of our size to have two, culinary schools, but we've got them, and I've met many people over the years who have come out of them who are now working in restaurants around here.
Denise Neil is our guest. We have her on quite often to talk about food and restaurants here in Wichita. I've got another decent, what I think is a decent story idea that I don't know that you've done, but you may have.
Okay, share it.
Leakers on North Broadway.
Yeah.
They have a very good deli, and I go there somewhat frequently, and they have really good food, and they have an interesting group of people who work in that deli, and I just think the whole thing is interesting. Does that strike a chord with you?
Yeah, that place, I've always been very curious about that place because it seems like one of the last few remaining kind of old school grocery stores in our area, right? I have not been in there. I haven't been in there. I've always wanted to go in. I don't know why I never stopped. But what kind of, are you saying they have prepared food, Bob?
Yeah, like they have specials every day. They have very good meatloaf, which is one of the specials today. I went out yesterday and I got 3 dishes. One of them I'm going to have tonight. They had lasagna, they had beef noodles, and they had brat and kraut. And all of it's really good. They serve sides. They have a really good salad bar. They just, it's really good. It's like really, really good.
What gets you out that way? What gets you out that way?
That.
I know, but how'd you find out about it?
Oh, just people talking about it. People saying that the meatloaf. I have a friend that talked about the meatloaf quite a bit, so we tried that, and it's a very clean store. They do a great job of running it.
Yeah.
I'm a big Leakers guy.
Bob, I like this idea. I'm going to get myself out there.
I love it. I knew you'd like that. You got what are you laughing about?
I don't have an idea, but
is Jeff becoming a common enemy of ours, Denise?
Well, this isn't new, Bob. He's always been an enemy of yours.
Really?
Well, at least an adversary.
That's fair.
You two were born to disagree.
No argument. So last week, I was looking for a different place to go with my wife. She's got a wheat allergy, so I'm looking up gluten-free restaurants, maybe places that we've not been to before. We ended up at Todd Bryan's Brick Street Cafe and Tavern, which is, I'm sure over there in Old Town Square. And apparently it's been there forever, and I had never known about it. It's kind of at least for me, a hidden gem. I had the chicken fried steak, and it filled up like a whole huge plate. Portions were unbelievable. Have you ever been there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been there a few times over the years. Of course, it was right there across from our office in Old Town Square. Yeah, I have been there, and you're right. It just it's one of those places that trucks along without a lot of fanfare, and people kind of forget about it sometimes, but it obviously has a following, or it wouldn't still be there after all these years. So I'm glad to hear you had a good experience over there.
Yeah, what a good time.
I don't think I've heard of it. I
hadn't either. That's what's crazy.
I may have to try that too. That sounds pretty intriguing.
Oh, why not?
How often? I'm curious, Denise. How often you get a tip that you just can't? You get really enthusiastic about, like a new restaurant coming to town or one that's leaving. How often do those things happen in your world?
Every day. I mean, I got
So
a list
today
of
you've gotten-
I got a list of about 30 things you don't even know about right now that I'm trying to find out about.
So you got a tip today about something.
Which was what?
Well, I don't know. I'm asking you. You did
did
get
I today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did, actually.
Besides leakers.
Oh, yeah. I get tips all the time.
I got a story idea for you,
Well,
Denise.
tell us one of them. What
well, let's see. You guys obviously did your prep work before my latest news. Well, today I wrote about Manhattan Brewing Company wants to come to Wichita and open its own tap room.
Yeah. I don't care.
Okay.
Can I? No. I'm saying I'm not saying that that's not a story. I'm just saying that craft beer is not my thing. I know it's the thing of a lot of people. A lot of people really love it. I get it, but I'm over it.
Okay.
I have a story idea that I
Why don't
just
you let me finish?
because I don't think she was interested in that. But go ahead, Denise.
Well, there's another thing I'm working on hotly at the moment, but there's 2 or 3 things I wish I could tell everybody, but I just can't yet. But I hear from readers, I hear from owners, I hear from real estate agents, I used to have a guy that sold soda, the stuff that carbonates your soda, that was a great source of mine, who would let me know stuff when he heard it. I mean, I got people everywhere, Bob, everywhere.
You're good. I like it. What's your idea?
I've got a story idea. This would take a lot of legwork, and it might be better for like a podcast, but it would be a huge enterprise type story. Because I was thinking about Freddy's, and they have new owners. They're now a chain. They started in Wichita, and they keep adding these new menu items that I don't know if people really like. They do these steak burger things really well, and that just got me thinking, like, we've had 3, I think about this a lot, 3 really massive restaurants that started in Wichita, Pizza Hut, White Castle, and Freddy's, that became these huge national chains. And what was the evolution for those restaurants of becoming local Wichita restaurants to huge national chains, and the things that they changed, how they adapted, what they added to the menu? I'd be interested to hear something or read something about that.
Okay. Well, I can send you a story I wrote a few years ago when Freddy's turned, I think they turned 15 or something, where I kind of outlined that. But
okay, well, excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm not saying that.
I remember that story well.
Sure you do.
But what I'm saying is, I do think that's well documented, Jeff. But maybe that would be good to bring together into one big story. But a restaurant just has to have that it factor and just get a lucky break. And nobody
I'm
knows
talking
what
more
that
about
formula is going to be.
The reactions to it. I don't know. Never mind. Forget it, Denise.
Yeah, forget that story.
I like what your story is such a good idea that we've done it. I mean, that's the thing. That's how good of an idea it is.
Not the way I'd do it.
Well, no, she did it better.
You work at a TV station. Get on it, bro.
I will. I'm going to do that story.
Yeah, do the story.
I'm dining with Jeff. Be ready.
Dining with Jeff. I can't wait.
We are officially competition.
Hey, Bob, listen. Travis just posted some photos of your statue.
Yeah, I got those emailed to me. I don't want to post them yet because I want to wait for the unveiling. But
okay. Well, anyway, pretty exciting, huh?
It's very exciting. We're very much looking forward to it. It's nerve-wracking. We're going to have a little get-together before the unveiling that day. And
okay.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry. Travis is having a great time out there in Colorado watching your statue get made.
Good. And for those of you who wonder why, Travis Hying and Jamie Green from the Wichita Eagle are producing a documentary on the statue, the theft, the ramifications, the aftermath, and we look forward to that. So that will be coming down the pike here in a couple, 3-4 months.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right, Denise, we always appreciate it. Thank you.
As do I.
See you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Denise Neil from the Wichita Eagle talking food and restaurants. We'll take a break. We got an hour left. We'll play a game coming up at about 3:25 or thereabouts. We've got the NBC World Series beginning Thursday. We got a couple guests lined up for you to talk about that. We'll tell you more about who they are. Stay with us, The Bob and Jeff Show.